2006, 46-year-old Bernie Williams was diving at City Beach in Australia with his two friends Brian and Jenny in search of exotic seashells. Little did Bernie know this would be the day that he comes face to face with anyone's worst nightmare. Bernie was very aware of the threat of a shark attack at this beach, but his two friends, Jenny and Brian, both were wearing shark shields, a device that goes around your ankle and emits an electromagnetic signal that deters sharks. So all in all, he felt pretty safe. Now, while Bernie's down there, he hears the sound of an approaching vessel getting right next to where he knows his boat is. And remembering that they all kind of have their keys and wallet and valuables still on that boat, he becomes a little worried that maybe that is the target of this approaching vessel. So he goes up to the surface to check, and when he does, he sees that boat is there beside his, but these people have no interest in his boat. In fact, they look very preoccupied with something going on the other side of their own boat. And so feeling safe, he quietly descends back down. Little did he know this boat had approached theirs to warn them that they had been diving elsewhere and had a shark nearly attack them. They never got the chance to warn him, and he dove right back down to where that monster was waiting. As he descends back down, he doesn't see his two friends anywhere, and so he starts to bounce about 2 meters off the ocean floor to see if he can get a mark on where his friends are. But mid-bounce, something rams right into the back of him, extremely hard. In fact, after this is over, he would recall that he almost, for a second, thought he had been hit by a submarine because of the sheer force of the impact. This humongous great white shark had came from below and behind and smashed into the back of him, propelling him forward, and then sank its teeth into his left arm and dragged him through the bottom of the ocean so fast that he said it felt like he went from 0 to 60 miles an hour in just seconds. Now, while this is happening, he has his diving mask on, which you really have no peripheral vision whatsoever. So by the time the shark stopped dragging him along and he had a second to kind of whip his head around and focus on what was going on here, only then he realizes he's been attacked by a shark. How does he know this? Because his entire diving scuba mask is filled with nothing but a humongous pitch black eyeball of this great white shark. And during the struggle, he recalled that he looked down for just a second and couldn't help but notice his flippers did not even reach the halfway point of this shark's body. That's how humongous this thing was. Now at this point, the great white shark begins shaking Bernie violently by his left arm. And while Bernie's being shaken, he keeps slamming into the side of this shark back and forth, back and forth. Bernie recalled that every time he did, it felt like he was hitting a brick wall. But Bernie had a spear gun on his side that he wasn't able to get to, but because of the positioning of it, it hindered the ability of the shark to fully get a good bite on him. And so finally, it released Bernie's arm and swam away. At this point, Bernie looks down to the ocean floor and sees a reef ledge, which almost created something like a wall that he thought he could hide behind. So he quickly goes to it, tries to stuff as much of his body as he can behind this small reef ledge to hide from this shark. And as he's back there, the pain of the bite in his arm starts to set in, and he realizes what's happened to him. There's blood flowing out into the water, and it's making the water red and silty, and it's so hard to see anything. He begins to panic. He's breathing heavy. He even begins to hyperventilate. He feels his heart beating, and he becomes so panicked. But then he begins to think of his family and how much he wants to see them and how he'll never see them again if he doesn't get out of here alive. So he musters up some courage and peeks over this wall. And just as he does, he sees a torpedo-shaped dark silhouette off in the distance, barreling straight towards him. The speed of it amazed him even in that moment. So as this thing is barreling straight towards him, he tries and grabs his spear gun and raises it and aims it right at this shark and where it's going to be coming. But he just doesn't have the heart to pull the trigger. He begins to psych himself out and think he'll just anger it. He'll just get more and more angry and more hell-bent on making sure it kills him. And so at that point, he's defeated and just accepts his fate. And the shark comes right at him and barely skims right over his head. There was a slight change in direction and behavior he would notice of the shark right at that last moment as it missed him and just swam off out into the distance. And as he turned his head, he saw his two friends, Jenny and Brian, swimming elbow to elbow straight towards him. They both had their shark shields on, and he says that because they finally got in that vicinity, it deterred that shark enough right at that last moment to save him from being attacked again and probably killed. Brian and Jenny had seen this shark attack and bravely swam as fast as they could over to their friend to do anything in their ability to help save him. And they did. They reached him and they helped him go back to the shore and got him on the boat. And they discovered that his tank had only enough oxygen left in it for maybe 1 to 2 more minutes. Thankfully, Bernie Williams survived that living nightmare.